Hello, I'm Michael Redmond, professional Go player. In this video, I'm going to be talking about big eyes and small eyes in sim-ams, or races to capture. So I put out a video about sim-AI basics, and people who like that told me I should talk about big eyes and small eyes also. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. In order to fully understand this video, you do have to understand what I was talking about in the sim-AI basics video. So I'll put a link in the description here below the video. And also I'll try to put a link up somewhere at the top of the screen also. In this diagram, both sides have small eyes. So white has an eye here and black has an eye here. So for this video about eyes to be relevant, we generally have to have inside liberties to make it work. So in this case, the point at A6 is an inside liberty that belongs to both sides. Another way to say that is that no one wants to play this point at A6 because playing there would put yourself in Atari. They don't want to play it. This inside liberty has a tendency to make a seki. It gives the possibility of having a seki like we have here. If the inside liberty were filled, then this would be a normal sim-AI, you might say, in which the eyes do not really have any special values here. They're just the number of moves. So black would have one liberty and white would have two liberties here. And there would be nothing special happening with the eyes in this case. It would just be the number of liberties. So the interesting things happen when you have these inside liberties, which give a possibility of having a seki. So the more inside liberties, the more likely this seki is to be. And of course, if you have outside liberties, for instance, as in this diagram, black has an extra outside liberty, that can make up for the inside liberty. So in this case, black has two liberties at the triangles, and white has two liberties at the circles. And just going back to the previous diagram here, both players had two liberties in this diagram. So black had these two, and white had these two. So they shared the A6 liberty. But the moment we assume that someone is going to capture the other side, in this diagram, if we assume that black is going to capture white, then that liberty at A6 no longer belongs to black, because if black is going to try to capture white, black has to fill that liberty. So black had only the two liberties on the 8 line, and white had two liberties inside, because it costs black one tempo, one move, to fill that liberty at A6. So that's how inside liberties will make it possible to have a seki, as in this diagram. The more inside liberties, the more likely the seki is. So now we're going to look at a shape where white has one more space inside the eye. This is a 2-point territory, you might say. And again, I'm going to call this a small eye. So it has no special properties when compared to the black eye, apart from the fact that there's just one extra liberty inside. So white has 2 points of territory. That's just 2 liberties. And so if black plays first and gets this point, then it's the same as the previous diagram in that both players have one liberty left inside their eye, and the point at A7 belongs to both sides. So now white had a 3-point territory, and in order to kill that, black had to play at B5. So I put the B5 stone in. Again, this is still a small eye. So although black had to put the stone in at B5, white had 3 points of territory and only 3 liberties also. So this is the first move black has played. If black plays one more move inside there, black will have filled 2 of the 3 white liberties, and white has no way of increasing that. So again, both sides have 1 liberty inside their eye, and the point at A7 belongs to both sides, provided both sides are going to be satisfied with the seki. So white can capture the 2 stones. So for one moment here, white has 2 liberties, but black can again fill that liberty. And it's again a seki. So that was the limit for a small eye. And next we're going to look at a big eye for white. Okay, so here we are. When white has 4 points of territory, finally this is what I'm going to call a big eye. And one thing you might notice about this diagram is that black has a lot of outside liberties suddenly. Black needed a lot of liberties just to make this interesting, because this big eye that white has is giving white a huge advantage. So that's what I want to talk about. And using this diagram, I'm going to tell you just how many liberties white has inside there, and how the inside liberty at A7 is going to work in white's favor in this diagram. So those are the two important points that I would like people to take away from this video. So first of all, up to this point in the previous diagrams, the number of liberties was equal to the number of points inside the territory. But it's not true of this. White has 4 points of territory, but will actually have more than that. White will have 5 liberties inside there. Plus, there's an extra bonus that white gets with the big eye. So we'll start with black filling white's eye up. There is a general rule with races to capture like this. You generally want to fill the outside liberties first. So it's always a good idea to start by filling the outside liberties, unless there's some special move inside that you have to play in order to get an advantage. So both sides will be filling, white's filling black's outside liberties, and black is filling the liberties inside white's eye. So we get to this point where black has made a clump of 3 stones. This is the important point in this race to capture. In order to maintain the advantage that white had with a big eye, white wants to keep this 4-point shape. White does not want to capture the 3 marked black stones. So first of all, white's correct move is to fill an outside liberty once more. And at this point, it should be clear that black is losing already, but let's play with it a little bit just to make sure. First of all, if black wants to proceed, there's only one move that black can play. If black wants to proceed, black has to put white in a hurry with this move. You might note that this actually filled black's own liberty. So that's the disadvantage of black's playing here. But black had no other local move that black could play. So white captures, and white suddenly has 3 liberties. And black played here, white played here. White wins by 1 move. So one of the special values of having this big eye is that at the end of the race to capture, towards the end of the race to capture, when black finally gets to play an Atari here, white suddenly has 3 liberties. So white has an extra liberty sort of held in reserve there. So that's how it worked. And after the exchange of white 2 for 3, you might note that white still has 2 liberties left over. So to go from the beginning again, it was 1 liberty here, the 2nd liberty here, the 3rd liberty, and then after black forced white to capture those stones, white still had 2 liberties left. So the inside liberties, the liberties that white had inside this eye were 5. White had 5 liberties inside that eye. Now let's go back to this position where white has filled an outside liberty. I've just demonstrated that black cannot win by filling this inside liberty. If black is hoping for a seki, maybe black doesn't want to fill A7. So let's say black plays some other point on the board. A strong player would know that white is winning anyway, but let's just demonstrate that. The way white continues here is that white is going to fill an outside liberty. White continues filling the outside liberties until white is ready to capture the 3 stones. Black has nothing to do. There was no way for black to continue in the local position, but white has a way. White can finally capture the 3 stones, giving the white group 3 liberties. And then if black plays here, white can win the semi. So it was important that white filled all the outside liberties first. Going back to this position, I'll repeat that. It's important for white to fill the outside liberties first. White does not want to capture these 3 stones prematurely, because that will allow black to play moves inside the white group, and this would actually make it a seki. So this way it would be a seki, and in fact end with sente for black, so that would be a very good result for black. So back to the starting position. This 4-point shape it had 5 liberties inside, and also the liberty at A7, it always belongs to white. So when it's a big I against a small I, the inside liberties belong to the big I. And that's why people say that the big I has a great advantage, or that people will tell you that the big I always wins. Again, if we opened up enough outside liberties, black would be able to overcome that disadvantage. But in many cases, the big I is going to be enough to give white a victory. So that was my explanation of what a big I is. White's I can be bigger. There's still dead shapes that are bigger than this, and the advantage gets bigger and bigger the larger the I is. So for the purpose of this video, I'll just limit it to this 4-point space. There are 5-point spaces, dead shapes, or the 6-point dead shape, which also have a great advantage in inside liberties. So thank you for watching this video to the end. I hope you enjoyed, and sign up to my channel for more like this.